Hi guys, this is Jeremiah with Stone Blue Airlines, and today we're checking out the FPV584 Plug and Play 5.8 GHz 400mW wireless system for FPV. This is all from Hobby Wireless. It truly is a plug and play system. Pretty much everything is set to go out of the box. There's very little you need to do. Just depends on your method of powering things up and the way you like to connect your cameras. Me personally, I love that this camera that comes with it, a Sony 700 TV line. It's the WDR 770 mini CCD camera. It's got OSD on the back, so you just literally push a button and boom, you're into the OSD, and we'll look at that shortly. It's got our servo lead ready to connect up into our video output. This is our ground station 5.8 receiver. Of course, this system does come with whips. I'm going to change, and I already have my skew planer on here, and then I will end up changing out this one as well. I just got it on another system right now, so we'll test and see how this works. We're going to see this a little bit later here in the video, but it's really nice because you just basically push a button, set through your channel selection, and then of course you're going to do a dip switches to change the frequency on here. All I had to do was solder my servo connector in line for video. And if you're not sure how to do this, definitely take a look at our how-to tutorials, how to get started with FPV. And then other than that, Dean's connector for my ground station. And then on the plane, I'm using my Super Zoom EPP 3D plane, and I have my power filter. And then what I did is I just split it because I'm trying to set this plane up so that I can basically jump around frequencies as need be. I've got a 900 megahertz system that I'll be testing as well. So I've got a JST connection that works great with this one. I've got a servo lead power output as well. And with this plane being so simple, I can switch and move stuff around as I'm testing out new gear before it goes on maybe a finished plane or whatever I'm doing. So, all right, let's dive in. I'm gonna go ahead and do the install and then show you what it looks like on the plane. All right, so we're gonna install the transmitter on the plane. I'm a big fan of Velcro. Velcro's awesome. It makes installation very simple, it's very secure, and especially on a slow flying plane, there's really no issue with worrying about this stuff falling apart. So what I do is on this particular plane, I've crashed it many times, so as you can see, on EPP, it works well to use a little bit of epoxy versus just the sticky back to apply it. So I'll put a little epoxy behind and then adhere it to the plane. And as you can see, this plane has seen better days, but it still flies fantastic. I've made modifications from when I've crashed it, and it just keeps going. So I've got sections here for my battery that I just Velcro the battery on this plane. Don't strap it on, been completely fine. Flip it, roll it, no big deal. And then right here I've got where my transmitter is just going to connect right to. So let's look at the rest of the install. I am ready to install my receiver on my ground station. I'm using a 7-inch LCD for the ground station. I also have, of course, my Vuzix goggles that I use as well. I just apply a generous piece of Velcro to the back. I've got Velcro applied to the back of my monitor, and then all I have to do is just pop it on the back. Everything is wired and ready to go. And again, simple, straightforward. I like just mounting them to the back, and then what I'll do is I'll mount and plug my batteries, and I'll just hang them off one of the straps on the back, or basically one of the handle areas. So that's pretty much all you need to do to get that portion ready to go. Okay, just a little side note here. On the receiver you have AV1 and AV2, so allows you for a little different connectivity or output. The connector, the phono jack, you just want to be careful with this, of course, on the back. Make sure that if the system does tip over, things are not going to get bent. It's basically just a quick plug and play for AV out. I've got my battery now connected, so you're going to run a battery, of course, to the receiver and then to your video display as well, so that you've got, I like the redundancy factor. I like running 2 batteries as opposed to just one. Now, if you're on a bigger battery, you're probably fine. You can do a splitter and power both. But right now, I'm going to be running them independently. So if I had an issue with it, I'd just change one or the other, and I can rule out if there's a problem. Alright, so let me show you where I'm at with the plane. We've got our transmitter, of course, Velcroed in place. It's nice and secure. Whenever you put this on, make sure you wiggle it back and forth in the Velcro. It will really help it adhere much better. I use duct tape, works well on EPP. So I've got the wires kind of wrapped around, everything's on top. On the opposite side, of course, I've got the JST for my power connection. And then I have my servo lead that's ready for the camera to be installed. I also have my additional backup if I want to run a different receiver or transmitter with power coming out from a servo lead. I've already got that split like I showed you earlier. So basically the plane is almost set. I just need to install the camera, and then we're ready to plug things up and go through the menu. So I have my camera installed. I went ahead and just replaced the video cable with one I already had that was just a wee bit shorter, and I didn't need to really worry about the additional length. So the original cable works great, no problems. I'm just gonna go ahead and save it for another install application on one of my other planes, which it'll work on. And then I kept the smaller cable that I already had, that I made a custom one and installed that instead. Used a little duct tape, of course, to hold it down. On this plane I am running rudder, and I have a DX6i, and so I only have pan for one side on it. I haven't really worked to program anything else differently with it, but I have it on my flap channel, so I've got a little bit of pan on here. My pan, just a standard servo, and then I installed and put Velcro on the back of the camera. Works great, one to hold it in place, and then also if have an accident, the camera will kind of just eject itself and not go too far. I also normally like putting some colored tape on the camera, which I'm going to do to this one before I take it out to the field, just in case it does eject. It's a whole lot easier to find than a black camera, even in green grass, something with some color on it. So I normally use some bright pink duct tape, and I'll just put a couple little strips on it, so it just makes it easier to identify. Let me show you now the receiver. Of course, everything is installed, ready to go, and I've got power to it. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the channel button until it powers up. This particular setup is already set on channel 8 as far as the transmitters. And then if you just push the channel button, it will cycle you through all 8 channels. Can't get much easier than that, and it's nice to not have to deal with any dip switches, at least on the receiver side too. So you kind of rule out missed frequencies and or having the combination of both and worrying about the setup. So very simple, very straightforward. Push a few buttons and you are ready to go. All right, let's get to the other side of the screen and show you how this camera works. All right, so here we are, camera is plugged in. We're ready to go through the onboard display setup, check all the camera settings. Again, there's not a lot of documentation that comes with any of this stuff. Actually, there's no documentation. So you're gonna either have to download manuals or go through and do a little bit of research. And once you kind of mess with these, you can pretty much figure out what works or doesn't work. So I'm gonna do my best to set up through at least what I understand on most of these and what some of the settings and functions are. And then everything in between will set up from there. So you're just gonna set and push the center button, shutter, auto gain control. You just wanna leave on auto, that's gonna be the best. White balance, you've got a couple different settings. Auto white balance, of course, that's great. You can use user. Not sure what this one is. I didn't go through the full manual on this. Then of course you have manual set. And then this is what I found on push lock is you can get a white object and of course just click it one time and it's going to change things. So if I use the ceiling, or if I use the wall, it's going to slightly change the hue. So you want to get a white piece of paper. Ideally, I'm going to do this outside again before I finish, but in here, this is fine. So it's going to balance for light in the conditions that I'm currently in. Backlight, I would leave off. I'm going to go through the settings too as I kind of play. I didn't look at each additional setting on this camera, and it does have a number of things to play with. So picture adjust. Center button, mirror, which we don't want, brightness, we seem to be pretty good with brightness low. Contrast, I tend to like a little bit lower setting on the contrast, which allows for darks and light colors in our picture to stand out. Sharpness, I did bump up, and I'll play with that a little bit. We'll see what difference that makes. as you go. But look at super on the bottom of my controller. Definitely makes a difference. So I'm definitely going to keep mine somewhere around probably 200. See how that works for the time being. Hue, again, just manual adjustment of hue and contrast. And gain, don't really need to mess with that one either. Alright, so we're out of picture adjust mode. ATR again is another mode that I just have not looked into yet, so I'm going to have to look into that one as well on this. Motion detection, of course, we do not need. And then we're going to go into to next. Privacy, don't need it. Day, night, color, black and white. You're just going to want to leave it on auto. It's going to auto switch depending on as the camera loses light. It's going to switch to black and white, which is going to give you a cleaner picture. Let's go into noise reduction. Personal preference, you're just going to have to play with it a little bit and kind of see. And I am currently not sure what setting is best in here. I'm really just going to have to play with it and see as I go along what ultimately is the best kind of general settings to use the noise reduction. So for right now, I'm just going to leave it on YC. Camera ID, you can put it on if you want to. I don't really need it. English, just going to leave that, of course, and I'm just going to go back. And that is pretty much it. Everything we went through. So next step is to get this plane in the air and test out the 5.8 system. You do at the end of everything just want to go ahead and hit save all, just push and click. It doesn't really give you any acknowledgement that you did that, and we're going to go ahead and test things out at the airfield. So we will see you guys there next. Alright, it's a little windy out today, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a test run anyway. Since I got some time today, we're going to check out the 5.8 system. Everything's installed, ready to go. Got my ground station set up. I'm going to fly by my screen today. And of course we're running on 5.8. I decided to just run my Bluebeam set from Video Aerial Systems today, because you know what, I just don't like the whips, and there's no reason for me to take any chances today with flying. And if I can fly better and see better, why not? That's why I have these antennas. So we're just gonna get rid of those whips and not even think about them. Ground station is recording on my DVR. We got everything set up, ready to go. So let's put the plane in the air. Let's see what happens. There you have it, some flight footage of the 5.8 system. Really like it. It's just a nice basic system. I'm going to use this one on my park flyer. I'm going to use this as a trainer. I personally still love my 1.2 setup. I just love that I can fly between trees and not really have any issues that way. But I think for those getting started, definitely a system to look at and one worthy of consideration. So guys, thanks for watching, and look forward to more reviews coming soon. Take care.